We are back for a second week of racing online on Le Mans Ultimate. And in this video, I'm going to focus on one race, the wet 20-minute race at Spa. Now, when I first saw this race, I thought, who at Le Mans Ultimate thought that this was a good idea? Beginner series, tricky track, very tricky conditions. It was surely going to throw some chaos in these races. Now, considering this is beginner series, I want to know from you, should Le Mans Ultimate be doing this type of race in these first beginner type races? I've got some thoughts on this which I'll share directly after the video, but please get involved in the comments because I really want to know what you think of a race like this belonging inside their quote-unquote rookie series. Let's jump into the action, show you my experience of these three races, and talk more at the end. So it's straight into the racing here at a wet Spa. This is split number 8 of 27, and I am ranked 7th for this race. Holding that 60k an hour, we've qualified in P9, and hopefully we'll be making up a few positions. However, hoping more so to not be involved in any big dramas. Coming out of the first corner here, and I am very cautious under brakes, trying not to create any contact, any damage to other cars. Fortunately, get out of that one nicely, but on the outside we can see this Porsche making a bit of a run on me as we head down towards El Rouge, and he's going to pull alongside, and I certainly do not want to be going side by side into El Rouge there. We back out of that one, leave plenty of space, and just looking for a nice clean run. In front we've got a Porsche that spins up El Rouge. He's off circuit there, so we are back up into position number 9, and then a slow moving white Porsche here down the Kemmel Straight going towards the outside of the circuit, but a little bit blocked in by the other Porsche as well. So coming down to Le Mans for the first time in this race, we end up braking along the outside of that Porsche. Some nice space given here at this corner, no contact made with these drivers, and unfortunately not enough of a run out of the second part of Le Mans, and we've slot back in there as we head down towards Brussels. Again, still staying there in that position number 9. Now we're going to look back at the opening lap to look at some drama here. This Porsche, this is the one that spun in front of me. You can see just losing the rear end up El Rouge the first time round on colder wet tyres, finding the barrier there, race finished. And same with this Ferrari, catches a little bit too much curb, big 360 spin there, and he comes back onto circuit and fortunately does not collect any other drivers. Now pushing on to the end of lap number 2, you can see the lack of visibility we're dealing with on this Spa. Lots of spray, a second back from the car in front, and I can hardly see them in the mist there. Just picking up my braking marker for the final turn and coming through here to finish this lap. But there's certainly a lot of trickiness to the circuit. You see a big slide there out of the final corner. Had to be so careful on inputs. This is a big high concentration race, this one, a very intense 20 minutes. Started lap number 3, that white Porsche who was in front, he does the identical thing to the opening lap Porsche, spinning to the outside of El Rouge. And then at the end of lap 3, big slide from this McLaren out of Stelvot, and we're going to get a bit of a run here up towards Blanchemont on this particular lap. Now I was quickly working out the strengths and weaknesses of my Ford Mustang here. You can see I'm the lead Ford in this race. The Ford was not good through the middle part of the circuit compared to some of these other cars, but it was quite good at the end of Sector 3 and the beginning of Sector 1. See through Blanchemont there, a bit more of a lift than normal to avoid that McLaren in front, but we still have a run. I'm going to show the inside of the corner here, but backing out of it again, just being super cautious through this race. I was just really focusing on safety rating, and there was a lot against me there. 2 spun cars on the inside of the final corner, and a run on this McLaren right under the rear wing, now fighting for a P5 position, a top 5 in this race. We again are down the inside a little bit, but not confident enough under brakes. He gives me some space at the apex. Unfortunately, not a great exit there, and that is going to nullify that turn 1 attack. We are hoping for a good run up El Rouge. Haven't really done it underneath the rear wing of a car before, so we're a bit cautious, a bit of a lift down to 4th gear, which is something I don't do in the later races. And as you see, not enough of a run through El Rouge to mount any sort of attack. End of lap number 4 though, and we are ready to try and do battle once again. Nicely through Blanchemont there, and we're going to close right up under brakes into the final corner. The McLaren goes a little bit wide at the first part of the chicane, and then one of the strengths of this Mustang was getting out of this final corner. Now right under the rear wing once again of this McLaren, just over a second to the car behind, so no worries there. We're going to get a bit more of a run. We're going to show the nose once more, but not alongside, and the McLaren does not take the bait at all on that one, coming down to the apex. Focusing on the exit there, a little bit more patient in the previous lap, and that is going to yield a benefit there, a bit closer to this McLaren as we come up towards El Rouge. Just need to get this corner right, and I think the run will be there to mount an overtake. Coming up the other side, still using 4th gear, but it's enough this time, up to 5th, and now the power of this Mustang in the slipstream of the McLaren. We're going to get a really nice run here, seeing if the McLaren goes defensive, which he chooses not to. So we pull to the inside of the track, ready for the braking zone into Le Combe. Now you see on the third person view how close we do get through these corners. It's a really good battle here, giving each other just enough space. We come down to the last part of Le Combe. The McLaren, he sticks it bravely to the outside there. He's still got some overlap, giving space once more as we head down to Brussels. He commits to the outside line at Brussels, but it's just too wet on the outside of the circuit there. He can't hold on to it, and we manage to squeeze through there. Now on the final lap, I've pulled a couple of seconds on that McLaren behind, nicely consistent, and we get a freebie at the end here. This McLaren spun on the run up to Blanchimont on the very final lap. So we pick up a freebie there, up to position number 4, a little bit off the pace as you can see. We've got there 20 seconds nearly to the lead car. So I definitely have some pace to find in the race, but up 5 positions as we come to the final set of corners here. Is a really good way to start out these wet races at Spa. Like I said, they're very intense. You needed to concentrate the entire time, stay out of some drama with those other cars, but a nice reward there. P4 for the first race day at Spa this week. Chuck it into race 2, and we're going to show you what will be my fastest qualifying time this week at Spa, and you can see the contrast of conditions. For qualifying, there was no rain and the track was 40% wet. That's the contrast to the light rain and 100% wet that the track is during the races. And obviously with the lack of cars on track during these qualifying sessions, you could just simply concentrate on putting out a fast lap time. Now, I didn't come across these conditions in practice servers, so I ultimately didn't really know what the car was capable of in these sessions, and my entire tactic was to simply complete a first valid lap and set a time and then try and push that for the second one. It's a 7-minute qualifying session, and ultimately you had enough time for 2 flying laps. So it was really important to put one on the board first to give yourself a bit of a banker lap. For this session, that's a 32.7, which was already about 8/10 faster than my best in the previous qualifying session that I had done. Now showing in P2 as we come through those first laps from everybody, and already showing nearly half a second up through the opening sequence of this lap. Now you could certainly be a lot more aggressive on this lap, and with low fuel and obviously fresh tyres, there was a lot more grip available. I sort of found that it was an easy 3 or 4 seconds faster qualifying run than it was in a fast race lap. So we're definitely just learning where you could push and by how much. Now you still had to be very patient, but you could brake a little bit deeper, turn the car a little bit harder, get on the throttle a little bit earlier, and it was just a bit of an exploration every time we did these qualifying sessions. See, the car's turning a lot nicer, coming out of the chicanes there on the way down to Stelvot, a little bit deeper under brakes, keeping it in second gear, car rotates a bit nicer, using that curb a bit more. The whole car seemed to just drive a lot nicer. Still couldn't quite get through into the back straight here as full throttle, little lift, and that was always going to be a bit of a tricky one. But the run up to Blanchimont here, the good part of the circuit for me, which had gone well the previous lap, so I wasn't expecting to find heaps of time through here. See, just a tiny lift, back onto power before the apex, using the outside curb there, playing with the track limits a little bit, and then hard on the brakes down into the chicane here. Getting it over the first part of the chicane nicely, getting it rotated at the apex, out the other side, and we're on the power just a little bit early there, a little bit of a wiggle, but we're going to come across the line now to complete the lap, a 2-minute 32.155, and that puts me back up into a P3 now for the start of this race. So holding speed now and waiting for that green light. This should be a little bit easier being a bit closer to the front of this race, a little less danger of being involved with any mess from other drivers. Decent launch there, and we're going to slot into P3 a bit more towards the racing line. Again, cautious under brakes there, the McLaren swapping positions at the first corner, and on the outside once again again, we have a Porsche. That's good acceleration from those Porsches out of the first turn on the outside there. He's got the nose in front, and I'm going to allow him to take this position to El Rouge. Now there's a bit of a wiggle here from the Porsche, and he's a bit slow through the first part there out the other side, so we've got a really good run, and I've also got pressure from another black and orange Porsche behind as well. Going to go to the inside here. He's moved me across the circuit, but I've managed to get the nose up the inside there, and we're almost a whole car length in front as we get to the braking zone. He tries to hold it around the outside, changes his mind, and actually makes contact with the Porsche behind. So we're going to come through this first part of the lap here in P3, a decent start, and again, really good close racing from these drivers around me. Now, start line though, and a few positions back up El Rouge, we have synchronized spins there from the maroon Ferraris, and unfortunately this is going to result in quite a major accident. Cars left in the middle of the track, and lots of cars involved there, race ending for many drivers. Now on board with the perspective of that blue Mustang, and you can see he doesn't really see the spins up in front, but as he comes over with this Ferrari directly in front of him, nowhere to go, nose to tail with both of those Ferraris in the middle of the circuit. Heaps of damage, another yellow Mustang involved there, chaos behind, and that's just those wet conditions and this beginner series definitely starting to put through. Now this was a split 3 out of 9 race. I have been ranked second in this one, so I should be near the front of it, but again, this is near a top split beginner race. It's a really tricky scenario there, and it kind of shows the chaos that these really wet races can produce. Now we get through the opening lap here. We're still in P3, a bit of a wobble from the Porsche behind, opening up a little bit of a gap. Fortunately though, first turn of lap 2, we go very long, can't get the car rotated, very late on the throttle there, and that Porsche is once again putting big pressure on me now on my outside as we head down towards El Rouge. I've still got the nose slightly ahead and the inside line, and he does a good job to back out of that one. Nice sensible driving from that driver there. I have really enjoyed a lot of the driving with some of these LMU drivers. It's been good, it's been consistent, it's been clean, it's been enjoyable. Now pushing ahead to lap 3, and you can see the pressure that this Porsche is putting on behind me. Like I mentioned in the first race, the middle part of this lap, particularly out of Brussels on the way down to Stelvot here, was not great for the Mustang. It's understeery, it was really hard to get the car turned, and the Porsches and the McLarens particularly were much better through this sequence of corners. He's having a little look as we come down to Stelvot here, and if I could get out of this corner and the next one okay, I would be able to pull a little bit of a margin. Getting on the throttle here, and you can see we bounce ahead now to the run up towards the final corner, getting out a little bit of an advantage, and particularly out of this last corner here, if I could get this right, I would definitely be able to grow an advantage from 0.3 at the bottom of the circuit, now out to 0.7 as we cross the line. It takes a bit of the pressure off me through El Rouge as well. You can see I'm now using 5th gear through here, a bit more of a confidence builder and getting out there a little bit better. You could bog down quite a bit if you got it wrong, but I was getting it right, and that now pushes it out to that 0.8, 0.9 second mark, so I could always open up a buffer as we got into Le Combe. But by the time we got to the bottom of the track again, that Porsche was right under the rear wing, putting a lot of pressure on, and I don't get it right out of the chicane this time round. It's a little bit of a wiggle there, and he takes the advantage. He quickly dives down the inside there before I can react, and he gets down to the inside there at Stelvot and picks up that P3 position off me back to P4. And try as I might, I was unable to hold on to this Porsche. Coming to the final lap here, as you see, he's pulled out a couple of seconds on me, although I have been able to pull a gap on the P5 car. Just nicely getting to the finish here, running wide and long at the final corner. This is something I was worried about doing all race, but no pressure on me at this point. So I'm going to get around the final corner here for race number 2 with another P4 position. But again, a clean race, clean racing with other drivers, no big off tracks or spins. I will happily take a result like this one. So a final race now. I've qualified P4, just 1.5 tenths off the pole position in a split 2 of 11 race, ranked 13th for this one, so doing better than expected. The driver rating and safety rating are going up through these races. Holding 60k an hour, we're on the outside of the circuit for the first time in these races, and we're going to have to see how this one plays out. Down towards the first corner here, we're going to take that outside line, going to the outside of the P2 car, although running a little bit long, struggling to get the car turned and get on throttle there, so that P2 car does drive off, and the now BMW behind, he's looking down the outside there as we head down towards El Rouge. But once again, I've got the inside line, and a very well thinking driver behind pulls out of that one. Been very pleased with how drivers like this have not pushed the point through El Rouge. Everyone really understanding where the conditions are for these races. He's got a run on me though as we head down the Kemmel Straight. We take the inside line, and also directly behind him the Aston Martin there. He's actually a French driver who I have raced against a fair bit in LFM. He's double my ELO in ACC and LFM, so he's a very good driver, and the fact that I've qualified him is quite an achievement for me. Now he immediately goes around the outside though at the last part of Le Com, taking a really good advantage there, and he's nice and deep under brakes. Really good driving from him. Wasn't really expecting to finish in front of this driver, if I'm completely honest, but it's nice to see some of those LFM players across recognizing some names now, and you can trust drivers like this because I've got that prior experience with them. Down now towards Pujon for the first time in this race, and my goal at this point is just to try and hold on to some of these drivers. I've got a little bit of a gap behind with some of those drivers fighting as well, so this top 5 is where I want to be and what I want to be holding on to for the first part of this race. Visibility, as always, very tricky, and just starting to get a sense now of where these braking markers are. Now, opening lap conditions here, we've got a black BMW going into a gap that was always going to close there at turn 1, and then it's lap number 2, in fact, that causes the drama up El Rouge. Another spinning Ferrari here. He spins back towards the circuit, and unfortunately is collected at the top of the circuit there. A wheel off, driver's day done. You see nowhere to go for this BMW here, out of the spray, big hit there, and yeah, tricky conditions causing really tricky scenarios. Now jumping ahead halfway through this race, and I've done not too bad holding on to some of these quicker drivers in front. A couple of seconds down and no pressure from behind. The first part of this race I have certainly been trying to take it easy. I've been trying to look after the tyre, particularly the races with a lot of fighting early on. Like the last race, I noticed the car was really hard to drive at the end of the race. The tyres going away, very understeery. Now again, can't see through the spray here as we come down towards turn number 1, but those two drivers in front are starting to battle, and this might bring me more into this race. Down to turn number 1, we've had the Aston Martin go up the inside of that BMW, so now a new target to chase for this race. Jump ahead to that same spot the following lap, and we can already see that gap to that BMW is starting to come down. I get a good run through El Rouge here, and we are going to start to close that gap right up now in the slipstream of this BMW. Potentially going to have a chance to have a look at the end of the straight here. We show the nose a little bit, but not close enough to mount an attack. Braking early there, falling back in line, but we're already starting to see that I have a good tyre grip advantage here through Le Com, which really yields well for a car that's got some front end grip. I'm much more pointy, the nose is rotating much nicer than that BMW in front, so we're going to have a look at the outside here of Brussels. Nowhere near it close enough to be, but he's already starting to show defensive moves. You can see he's a bit weaker now, and this has given me a good shout at trying to get back to the P4 starting position that I had at the start of this race. On the next lap as well, you can see we are still really close to this BMW and still showing lots of grip advantage through Le Com here. But unfortunately there is no gaps for me to dive into and no chance of a overtake. The McLaren behind is also starting to close in, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that one through the last part of this race as well. So coming to the end of lap number 7 with 2 minutes and 4 seconds on the clock, we are going to have just one more racing lap to try and get this move done. Down to the braking zone for the final corners. Again, Mustang is strong through here, and that BMW is starting to struggle. Coming out nicely on the throttle there, and a little bit of a wiggle from that BMW. He's sort of showing those signs of weakness. Now we're going to stay tucked in behind here and try and nail turn number 1. You see the engineer saying there 1 lap to go.
Just want to have a really good exit through the first corner here. You can see how pointy the BMW is, and in front even our Aston Martin friend has got up into second place, so that even the podium is getting closer to me at this point. Now, El Rouge, super critical here, need to get a good run, and fortunately I do. I'm early enough on the throttle, it's a bit of a slide which we catch, and much better than that BMW, already right under the rear wing as we start the Kemmel straight. He goes defensive, so we're on now the outside of the Kemmel straight here with a good run. Going to pull right alongside now. He's coming across, a bit of a squeeze on, nicely under brakes there, run a little bit wide but still with the nose in front, getting there to give some space. Again, really good racing. He's trying to get up the inside here. We have to give some space at the inside apex. Unfortunately, enough momentum around the outside there on the run down to Brussels. Now critical to get these next few corners right and to open up a little bit of a margin. Very patient on the throttle through the middle part of Brussels there as we come down towards No Name. Unfortunately, I outbrake myself a little bit and run quite wide, getting right on that outside apex, getting on the throttle. Fortunately, not too much wheel spin, although that BMW has got a little bit of a run. He shows the nose into Pujon, which is a terrible place to try past, but once again I run a little bit long, overdriving the car a little bit here, and actually following that BMW that was in front of me wide as well. Although we get out of Pujon okay, the BMW behind just did not have the front end grip to try and get underneath me through Pujon. So into the chicanes now, through the S's, and we just really backed it off with a little bit of a gap now. Just wanted to nail the apexes, try and nail my exits, and that would be enough to secure this P4 position. Certainly I'm looking at that BMW in front, but he's going to have to make a big mistake now to give me a chance at a podium. Come out towards Blanchimont now, down this back straight, and it looks like we're going to be able to sew this one up with a good final sector here. Now overall, I was actually really pleased to get through these races the way I did. I drove very cautiously, very sensibly at times, and a lot of the other drivers around me at the front of these races did exactly that. As we come down to this last corner here, that BMW not making a mistake, and neither do I, nice and cautious, with the front of the race not too far in front of me, which was a nice way to end. I showed improvements across all the races, improvements in qualifying, learning the car, learning the track, its strengths and weaknesses. It was a good learning exercise all round for me in LMU. Finishing off there with a third, fourth position. 3 top 5s, no podiums, but again, it's good safety rating, there's good driver rating in all of this, and overall, a very happy driver I am to finish those ones. Big sigh of relief, and we can see in the stats there we are nearly up a level on the driver rating and almost up to a bronze 2 rating with the safety rating as well. So a lot of positives this week on this wet Spa.
So there we are, I have survived and gained rating through these crazy races at Spa. But like I said, I wanted to dive deeper into the conversation about this type of race belonging in a beginner series. Now personally, I think that this sort of shows 2 potential reasons. First off, it sort of shows that they are looking at taking current sim races and bringing them into Le Mans Ultimate. While it is beginner series, it doesn't necessarily look like they are catering for brand new sim races and more trying to attract racers like me from ACC or iRacing who are looking for a bit more of a challenge outside the games they normally play. Or secondly, the reason could be the fact that they are potentially struggling to produce interesting races week on week with the limited tracks and car options that Le Mans Ultimate still has. Remember, there is only a handful of tracks when you compare this sim to other ones, and potentially the requirement to throw in weather is what they're trying to do to make some of these races a little bit more interesting and to change them up week on week. I don't think a full wet race in beginner series is something that should be happening, because I don't necessarily dislike a race like this. I had a lot of fun, it was a good challenge, but I would certainly have appreciated it outside of rookie class, more of that intermediate or advanced safety rating. Chuck conditions at drivers who have proven to already understand the game and how to be safe on track. Now, if you're new to the game and struggling with safety rating, I'm sure this week was a real tough one for you. So let me know in the comments how your races went, what you think of a race like this being part of Le Mans Ultimate Beginner Series. I'm very, very curious to understand what you think of it. As always, I really hope that you enjoyed seeing those races on Le Mans Ultimate. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you want to see a bit more of my Le Mans Ultimate journey on the channel here. Look forward to speaking to you in the comment section, but as always, race hard, stay positive. We'll see you again soon for another video. Cheers.